What's up everybody, my name's Killaton, and welcome back to Dark Souls Remastered. Today we're going to be running through the undead burg, and we're just going to see where it takes us. The undead burg is a fairly simple area. There's just a lot of different enemies and a lot of groups of enemies that you have to worry about. Other than that, it's a pretty simple area. I'm going to be running through here pretty quickly. It's, like I said, it's a pretty simple area, and if you've played the game before, it's kind of an easy run through. Come over here and kill this guy and grab the black fire bombs that are in the chest, although I don't think I ever use them. They just sit in my inventory. There is another guy back around that corner if you really want the souls, but he's kind of out of the way and he's only there to jump scare you or surprise you while you're exploring. As I make my way up these stairs, this is the first group of enemies that I had real trouble with when I first started playing. You can just kind of kite them down the stairs and line them up, especially if you've got a vertical attack here. Makes them pretty easy to deal with. One of them throws fire bombs. I don't think he threw any fire bombs while I was down here, but he will throw some fire bombs, which makes that a real difficult trio to fight. Just like these guys, these all throw fire bombs. I do an accidental quit out there. I thought I was going to fall to my death, but I ended up just falling down earlier right to the edge of those stairs. But the quit out is something that you can use if you're falling or to reset enemies. But it's not a bad thing to have in your arsenal, especially if you get frustrated by gravity kills or need to reset enemies if you're trying to run through an area real quick. I kill these guys because there's a soul that I want to pick up here just so that I have it on hand, and I get lucky and one of the guys drops a firebomb for me. I don't think I use any firebombs throughout this whole run, so they've just kind of sat in my inventory. But it is kind of nice to get those drops. I get really lucky with the drops this run through. Come up here and kill this archer guy so he doesn't annoy me while I'm trying to take out the other guys. But this is the first usage of the master key. Because I bought the residence key, I used the residence key instead. But if you have the master key, you can still come through and get these. This gold pine resin applies lightning to your blade. Will give you a little extra damage when it comes to boss fights or areas if you're struggling. You can kill people just a little bit quicker that way. It also triggers this one guy to start coming up the stairs, so you can kind of take him out on his own. If you get too close, the other two guys will aggro as well. Again, making this a little difficult area. I almost died to them, as you can see, because they've got those shields that block most of the physical damage. So you got to get through that shield before you can take these guys out. Plus they have spears and they can poke you while also defending. So there's not really any good openings. You've kind of got to break their shield, break their poise before you can take them out. Get a little overzealous here and almost die again, but I make it through. And if you come down here to the right, there's one of the Black Knights. I don't remember how many there are, but each of them has a different weapon, and killing them drops upgrade materials and a potential to drop their shield and sword. So I just do a little parry practice here to take them down. These guys are pretty easy to parry, at least this first one, if you've got your parry timing down. If not, you can kind of kite them up the stairs and fish out a backstab. But there it is. Got really lucky, and they dropped the Black Knight sword. That's kind of an end game weapon that if you level up and you get early, you can kind of breeze through the first half of this game with. It's a pretty strong straight sword. It's got a similar moveset to this Viander, even though it's a lighter sword. But it's still pretty fun. If you do that right, you can jump over the barrel and take no damage, but I missed the jump, as you can see, and took a little bit of damage. And down here, there's another use of the master key. You can get to this area early by going through here. There's another area outside that you can get through to with the master key. but it's guarded by a pretty heavy-duty enemy. So that's Havel. He's the enemy. He's a real tanky individual. He's supposed to be taken on a little later in the game, but he's really easy to parry. He's got some pretty large parry windows. As you can see, I parry him with my hand, but I'm not doing enough damage. I don't really want to spend the time parrying him and backstab fishing and whatnot right now, so we'll come back and do him later. So respawning here, I decide to just kind of run through the area and ignore the enemies. I've killed them once already. The door's already open since he opened it the first time you come through the area, so I just decided to sprint past all the enemies here and make life a little easier. With this door open, you can do a pretty quick skip as well. If you jump at the right timing, you can just get onto the stairs and kind of ignore all the enemies in that area, and then run past him, and we're on to the next one. There is a crystal lizard in one of the barrels here. I didn't realize that crystal lizard was there for a long time when I played, but I get 2 Titanite chunks and 2 twinkling Titanite, which again is a pretty good drop rate for those. And this boss fight is not the hardest boss fight, but if you forget that these guys are up here, they will snipe you and stagger you while you're trying to take out the boss. So I always try and remember to come up here first and take these guys out before fighting the actual boss. And once we come down the ladder, just top off the health to make sure that I'm not going to get one shot by the boss. And he'll jump down from the roof there. Now there is a way you can cheese this boss by getting him to jump back over the edge. There's some holes in the wall, as you can see, and if you do it right, you can get him to jump backwards and through those holes, killing him instantly. I have never been able to get that cheese. I've never been able to get him to jump off the ledge, but he's still a pretty easy enemy to take out. If I didn't have this Vihander, if I didn't have the early power weapons with the 2-hit stagger, I probably would have used one of the 3 gold pine resins on this one. It just makes the fight go a little bit faster, makes it a little bit easier to take him out, but the 2-hit stagger on the boss here is very helpful. It gives you another window to attack or to regen stamina, since I don't have a whole lot of stamina right now. But yeah, other than that, he's also a pretty easy boss. It made it a little difficult by fighting him on the bridge. You don't have a whole lot of room to move around. He does have an opportunity to drop his Demon Great Axe as well right there, as well as the Homeward Bone and the Humanity. I didn't get that lucky with him. I've pretty much used up my luck on other enemies for getting those weapons, but that is a weapon that you can kind of farm later. This bridge is one of the fun bridges. It's kind of harkens back to Demon Souls. They had a bridge back there with a Drake as well, but it's very hard to get through there without getting burned. But once you get through there, there's a nice little shortcut back here to the bonfire that you can use. And I go down and rest at it so I can get my Estus back, and then we will move on to the next area. There is an intended path that you're supposed to go through underneath the bridge and around and kill a couple rats that'll ambush you. But there is a way to get him to jump down from his perch, and then you can just run past him and kind of skip that little area. It takes a little bit to get him down, but once I get him down, you can just run past him to the next area. I try and tail cut here and get the Drake sword. I get it in the second swing, and I pick up the claymore as well. That won't be used, but there's a claymore, there's a soul there, and then if you can run right past him and get this extra bonfire, kind of skipping a little area that can be somewhat annoying, The rats show up numerous times in this game, and they're pretty much infinite stamina, and they poison, so avoiding the rats kind of makes things a little bit easier as you go through. And up here, there's a couple enemies that will ambush you. I kill him first, and then go up this tower. And up this tower is the second Black Knight with the Black Knight Greatsword. I was kind of hoping to get the Black Knight Greatsword this run, but it didn't end up happening. He's really easy to backstab fish. You just gotta let him do his heavy swings and then circle around the side. I'm having some real trouble dodging him here. So what you can do is you can kind of kite him back down towards the bonfire and then fight him there. You've got a little bit more room to maneuver. You've got a little bit less chance of falling down off onto the stairs. So I try and kite him out, but he doesn't want to follow. So he does get stuck in the stairwell. If you go too fast, he will de-aggro. And resting at the bonfire doesn't actually reset them. They kind of have to reset themselves. They're one of a few enemies that don't get reset by bonfires. So I go back up the stairs and we try and re-aggro him and get him back downstairs with me. He just doesn't really want to follow me right now, which is fine. We'll get him taken care of, regardless of whether or not his AI wants to cooperate or not. But yeah, the Black Knight Greatsword is a pretty strong weapon. You don't have to get it dropped right here. There is an opportunity at the end of the game to farm the weapons to be able to use them in New Game Plus. But other than that, if you don't get the drops early, you don't really get to use them early, obviously. But having them is they're all fun weapons. There's a straight sword right there. See, he's didn't re-aggro. I don't actually know how he got up on that other side, but not re-aggro. He didn't reset. I don't know how he got up there on the other side, but once you get him down here, it's real easy to backstab fish. You've got a lot more room to work with. You've got a lot easier to kind of get around behind him. And again, I'm just struggling to dodge for whatever reason, and then I get smashed. But yeah, I always say that it's easier, but mistakes do get punished pretty hard in this game. And that's another good reason to kind of bring him down by the bonfire, is that you can kind of pick up your souls real easily and not really have to worry about the enemy. You always kill this guy before going up, because if you don't kill him, he will aggro to you, and he will make it a pain in the butt to fight the Black Knight, because you'll have the Black Knight and the Hollow to deal with. But that's the move that we're really looking for, is that big scoop. That's the one that's the easiest to backstab fish on. The poke also works, but that big scoop, you can parry him as well. I just wasn't gonna risk the parry. I get caught here too. I don't know how that caught me, but hitboxes in this game can be a little weird. But there it is. There's another Titanite chunk, and as I said, I did not get lucky and get the second Black Knight weapon drop, but that's okay. We'll get that weapon later. Continuing through this area, there's another kind of quick way through this that you can kind of skip the entirety of the area. If you run up these stairs and run past all the enemies, that gate is open. If you don't get through that gate before it closes, you'll have to run through kind of the underbelly of the city. And I think I get screwed here a little bit. I try to run past them just to open the gate, so I'm gonna end up having to run through it. But if you don't get killed there, if you're able to open that gate then stays permanently open, and you don't have to worry about running through the area that I have to run through now that I missed that kind of shortcut skip. I also pick up the basement key there. That's a key to an optional area in the game. You don't have to go to the basement if you don't want to, but getting it just unlocks some optional bosses and an optional area where you can go and do some fun things. You come back up here too just to try and get that item, but running past those guys, they still stay aggroed, so they will follow you up the stairs, but once they're up here, they're a little easier to take care of, but I tend to try and get these crossbowmen out of the way early because they can get a little annoying. And like I said, I just have really good luck this game with the item drops and getting Titanite shard from him as well. Most of those items have a pretty low drop rate, so kind of getting them to drop early really helps because they're upgrade materials, so that means you can strengthen your weapon a lot quicker. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why those alluring skulls were there. I didn't understand what they were used for. This is the first time I've actually ever done this cheese. Normally I get him to chase me and that boar to chase me and run into the fire over there by the stairs. But this time I actually use the alluring skulls and throw them into the fire, making the boar burn. These steel boars have a weakness to fire, so if you can hit them with black fire bombs or normal fire bombs, or just generally get them to run into the fire, they take a lot of damage from fire. The alluring skulls also helped out and drew out a couple of the ambush guys that were going to be in the hallway for later, making my life a little bit easier getting through that area. But with the boar dead, this area is pretty easy. He's one of those that does not respawn, so once he's dead, he's dead. It makes it a lot easier to run through this area. Getting through this area is not too bad either. The only thing you have to watch out for is ambushes. This area is a ambush heavy area. They like to hide enemies around corners and draw you into groups of enemies, but if you can manage to avoid those, then you're pretty good getting through here. And this mystery key you can use a little later in this level to free somebody. It doesn't matter if you use it or not. The only thing you miss out on is a small reward, but there's supposed to be two guys here. I have never seen this in all my years playing Dark Souls, but this guy is stuck on the back side of the ladder. He's not even supposed to be there. He's supposed to be standing on the ground waiting for you so that there's two guys before you hit this ladder, but he's just kind of stuck frozen there, and I have no idea what he's doing. But yeah, you can also get some more souls walking out here. It's kind of practice for later in the game too. There's a set of rafters that you've got to run through with enemies on them. So, and there I realized he was still alive, and I killed him, and it teleported him to the top of the ladder. So that's just a fun little glitch that I've never seen in all my years of playing, and I just thought it was pretty hilarious. This area is another area where you have to watch out for ambushes. There's a lot of different enemies that are hiding around corners, so when you're coming through here, just be careful. I get a little overzealous, I get a little cocky there, and I try and jump attack him, and he hits me with a quick poke, dealing counter damage and killing me. But other than that, if you walk slowly, you can backstab him or ambush him and kill him pretty quick. But I don't do that because I get a little cocky and decide after that to kind of take my time running through this area, because those kinds of deaths are a little annoying to me because I've run this game so many times, I've run through this area so many times that silly little deaths to enemies like that just kind of annoy me. That's the one problem, at least with me, doing this early Zweihander build, is I tend to be it's a little bit of an overpower build, so I tend to be a little more aggressive and I tend to be a little more cocky with it, and it gets me into trouble a lot. But once I kill those guys, I draw this guy underneath the bridge so the archers can't get to me, and take him out, otherwise he'll follow you into the hallway. And then we just kind of run through here again really quickly. There, that's what I'm talking about. That guy in the hallway, as he runs away, if you don't kill him and you just chase him, there's one guy on each side of that door that are waiting to ambush you, as you saw right there. So take it slow. Same thing at the top of the stairs. There's a guy on each side, so if you focus on one too hard, the other guy will get you in the back. But if you take it slow, if you watch what you're doing, then you can take out these guys. That's one of the guys that got aggroed by the alluring skull in the previous run. He's the one that kind of protects the mystery key. So I kind of got lucky on that first time through this area, getting those guys out of the way early. And here's what I mean. There's supposed to be two guys, and they're right there. And again, I get a little overzealous and a little cocky, and I almost get taken out again. But the big sweeping sword attacks with the Zweihander kind of help me out here. Alright, we're back where we were before dying. Gonna go back and get my souls and take this guy out. The souls are right there because the game only saves your location every 10 seconds, I believe. So if you take your time and you die, sometimes it'll spawn your souls 10 seconds back from where you were at when you died, making them a little easier to retrieve. But most of the time I don't get that lucky. And again, check every corner while you're running through here. Check every alley, every nook and cranny, because they like to hide enemies in them. And if you don't, then they'll end up ambushing you and catching you from behind. That item you saw down there, that is a halberd. That is another decent early game weapon. As you can see, again, check every corner because they've got guys that'll aggro. I get unlucky here, and he aggroes with his quick attack and gets counter damage just before dying with that poke again. So my cockiness bites me in the butt once again. My overzealousness takes me out again. As I make my way through this area the third time, I get a little impatient again and get poked right here and almost die to counter damage again, but luckily I hang on. There are a few enemies that you might want to kill every time, this guy being one of them, the guy at the edge of the bridge being another. The one that I'm killing right now, he aggroes to you as soon as you enter the archway, so he's one that you're going to want to kill, or he'll stay aggroed to you for quite a while. This guy can maybe be avoided, but I kill him just the same, just to make sure that I don't get trapped in the hallway. And yeah, taking out all of these guys again is a good idea, just so that they don't follow you throughout the level. This area can be a little annoying to run through. I try and skip it as much as possible, just because I don't necessarily like all the hallways, like all the enemies that you have to kill. Don't like how far the aggro range is on some of these guys, so that skip really makes this area a lot quicker and a lot less annoying. But unfortunately I wasn't able to get it this time to show you guys, but making it through this area is not the hardest thing to do. You just got to be super careful about it. I decided to go for the knight first because the other guy moves pretty slowly when he aggroes, and taking the knight out just makes life a little easier. And again, these guys are very hard to break poise, so just be careful. And I should have utilized the kick more. You can kick enemies and break their poise that way, and it doesn't take a whole lot of stamina, but I always forget about the kick. Here's another area with a group of enemies that can be kind of annoying. There's another crossbowman over there and 2 shield guys with swords this time, so they don't utilize their block as much. But just draw those guys out around the corner so that this archer guy can't hit you, and you're pretty much good to go for this area. There's 2 different directions you can go. You can go down here. There's a bonfire and the blacksmith. The other way leads to the area where if you get the gate skip, you can run through and go back to Firelink Shrine. I always like to pick up the blacksmith first because we can go upgrade our weapon and have a +5 weapon before the first major boss. But if you go the other direction, you can get to Firelink Shrine and have more Estus for the fight at the first major boss. So it's kind of up to you which direction you go, which way you want to go. At this bonfire, I pop a bunch of souls to see if I can get another level, and I dump it right into endurance, so that way we don't have to worry about it so much, and I still have enough souls left over to upgrade. I don't know why, but I didn't go upgrade first here. I ran back and decided to go get the shortcut. But you can go down and upgrade, especially if you get lucky with some Titanite shard drops. Or you can purchase the Titanite shards from the blacksmith himself. I get overzealous again and almost die again, so I just decide to run past the enemies this time. That is a Tower Knight. Those guys also don't reset on bonfire sitting, so they will follow you for a while, and if you do sit at a bonfire, they will still pursue you. But you can kind of ignore them and run past them if you don't want to fight them first. But they're another one that drops upgrade materials. So as you can see, that elevator shortcut takes you down back to Firelink Shrine. That's what I was talking about in the first episode with the design of the map, how everything's all interconnected and layered, and you can make your way back to starting areas from further areas, opening shortcuts and making things quicker to get around. This whole map is just stacked on top of each other and interconnected, and it's all essentially loaded in at the same time, so you can get to anywhere from anywhere, and you'll always be kind of next to or underneath or around a previous area. So the map design is just incredible when it comes to game design. As we head back up these stairs, we're going to do some chores before we hit the first major boss fight, before we hit the first Bell of Awakening boss. We're going to pick up a few items, we're going to hopefully level up and get a couple more points into endurance, so that way we have a little bit better stamina management. But that's what we're going to go do, is get an item that will help us even further with our stamina management, with our stamina regen. I run past the Tower Knight again. We'll deal with him later. He does end up aggroing and following us, but he's pretty easy to outrun. He's kind of slow and pretty easy to get past. He does end up following us all the way into the Undead Parish, but as soon as you get down these stairs, he can't follow you anymore. So if you're worried about that, just make sure you watch out for the attacks, because those hitboxes can be a little funky. But other than that, we're just going to rest here, so that way if we die on our run, we respawn closer to our point of attack than we would have if we were at Firelink. We're going to run past this Titanite demon real quickly, and then we're going to head on to the Dark Root Garden, and then once we're through a little bit of the Dark Root Garden, we're going to head to another area that's just outside the Dark Root Garden, and that is where our shield that we're looking at getting will be. Be careful with these tree enemies. They have a lot more range than you would expect. They are pretty easy to block if you have a shield, but their arm whips and their grab have more range than you expect. So just be careful with them. They are a later game enemy, so if you're trying to get through here earlier on, they will hit pretty hard. They will hurt. But if you have slashing damage, they are pretty easy to take care of. There's also another crystal lizard, not really hiding, but kind of chilling out here that we can take out real quick. And he does end up dropping 2 twinkling titanite for me and a titanite chunk. So those are pretty good drops. Again, the twinkling titanites are used to upgrade special weapons. I believe most of, or all of the Black Knight weapons are twinkling titanite upgrades. So the more of that you can get, the better off you are. The faster you can upgrade those Black Knight weapons. That's the item we're looking at getting, so you can just drop down on it. But there is another Black Knight that's guarding it. As you can see, he has the Black Knight halberd. He is a pretty tough enemy to take out, but you can cheese him by having him jump off the cliff. I rest here real quick so that way I can go kill him and see if he'll drop his weapon, but get that shield equipped and get some more stamina regen boost on top of the Mask of the Child. The Mask of the Child and the Grass Crest shield stack. They do 10 points of stamina regen each, so together they increase your base stamina by 20 seconds, I believe. But there he is. We're going to draw him down, see if we can get him to jump off the cliff. If not, we'll take him out the conventional way. But the weapon he has is the speedrun weapon. A lot of the speedrunners want this weapon. It's just overall a good weapon. It is a quality weapon, so you do need both strength and dex. We do end up cheesing him and kicking him off, and he drops a blue titanite chunk. And unfortunately, we don't get the weapon. But again, we have used up our luck a lot in this playthrough and got quite a few twinkling titanites from the crystal lizards and the Black Knight sword to start. So I'm not too mad about it. I'm doing a Zweihander run anyway. There's another pretty easy boss up here if we head all the way through the Dark Root Garden. So we're going to go take out that boss before we take out the first Great Bell of Awakening boss. That'll get us a couple extra souls. That'll get us a couple extra levels. That'll get us prepped for the fight a little bit more. Plus, it's a pretty easy fight, especially if you use the summons that's available. This is an area that you can get to earlier as well. If you go through the watchtower where Havel is, there's a second door at the bottom that you can open up and run through and get here even sooner. I didn't think about it when I was ignoring Havel. Instead of dying, I could have exited out that door and we could have gotten the shield a little bit earlier, but oh well. There's a couple more of these tree guys. There's a couple tricks that you can use to take these guys out faster. They are a one-hit stagger with the Zweihander, so that really helps. But they are kind of hard to see coming, especially with all the grass stuff. But I didn't realize which direction I was going, and I was headed the wrong way, so we had to take a U-turn, and then there's another one waiting. They do drop blood moss clumps, which stop bleed, and they will drop purple moss clumps, which stop poison. So if you need to farm either the bleed or the poison stoppers, then this is the place to go. You see that little bush there? That is actually another enemy that will aggro if you get to a certain point. And there's the tree whip that I was talking about that has a lot of range. And there he is. If you get too far, you trigger him. But you can jump attack or attack them while they're in the ground and kill them before they even pop up, or at least stagger them to make them easier to kill. But I didn't get to do that this time. This is a pretty big area. There's quite a lot that you can do here, but I'm running through it the quick way just to get to the boss. That brick wall there is an illusory wall that if you hit or roll through will take you to this hidden bonfire. That just makes this area a lot easier, a lot quicker to get through, and it'll help out later when we get that big door open. That door will cost 20,000 souls to open. So we'll get to that area a little bit later as well. That's another kind of intended shortcut. But as you can see, there's 3 bushes that you can attack before they pop up on you. But as soon as you grab that soul, that item, they will pop out of the ground and attack you. So I just take care of them early so that way I can pick it up, and we'll be moving on here pretty soon. I remember that I need to be human as soon as I go through this fog gate. I remember that in order to summon the individual that I want to summon to help me with the fight, that I have to be human, not hollow. So we're going to run back to the bonfire really quickly and get that taken care of. I also have a humanity that I don't know where I got from. You can get random humanity as you run through areas and kill enemies before you kill the boss of that area. So you are able to sort of farm souls and farm enemies with a chance of getting a humanity drop just straight into your humanity inventory. And I figured I'm super close to a level, so I might as well get that extra level as well before heading on, because if I die and lose a level of souls this early, it's going to annoy me. So get that out of the way and run through this area with 13 souls instead of the 3,000 that I had. As you can see there, those guys are aggroed as well because they have been awakened. Once that item is picked up, they will be permanently out of the ground and will aggro you as soon as you run through there. But this area is pretty quick to run through. You don't have to kill any of these stone giants. You can just ignore them. And then here's the summons, just hiding in the bush. If you summon her, this boss fight becomes a whole lot easier, especially for a melee build. This boss flies, and the only time you can damage them is when they land. I'm waiting for my summons here just to see if they get to the boss room before me, so that way I have a little extra help. But yeah, this is the Moonlight Butterfly boss. It's a pretty beautiful boss, but it can be a pretty pain to fight, especially as a melee build, because the only time you can hit it is when it lands. And it deals magic damage, and there is not a lot of items this early in the game that give you decent magic defenses. You can, however, hide behind the entrance gate, which helps to keep the damage down. But other than that, I'm still waiting for Beatrice to get into the boss arena here. The Grass Crest shield does decent at blocking those little needles because I believe some of it is physical damage and some of it is magic damage. So I basically only take the magic damage part on that, and other than that, it's just dodge and avoid the damage until the Moonlight Butterfly lands, where you can hit it with your melee attacks. Beatrice finally gets into the fight as I die because I mistime my roll. So we're going to rectify that the second time we run through here. We're going to make sure that Beatrice is in the fight with us before we start. And again, I forget that I need to be human. So I start running and realize that I need to pop a humanity and become human so that I can re-summon Beatrice. There aren't really that many benefits to being human. The only thing is that it activates invasions, so you can be invaded by other players if you're online. I believe it also increases your curse resistance for being human. But the main benefit in humanity is to have the soft humanity, or that number up next to the stamina and health bar. Once you get 10 of those, it increases your item finds to max, at least for the humanity side of things. And at 30, it caps out all your resistances that you can get But we're running through here again pretty quickly. We're going to ignore every enemy again. We're going to resummon Beatrice, and we're going to wait for Beatrice till she gets into the mode where she can enter the arena. Otherwise, we're going to be in the same situation that we were last time, where she takes forever to get up there. She is a really strong summons for this. She does take out the Stone Guardians very quickly with her magic damage. She takes out the tree guys pretty quickly as well with magic. And once she gets into the boss fight, you really see how much damage she can do to the boss. She's a pretty OP summons for this fight, especially if you don't have a sorcerer build yourself. But it does make the game go by a little bit quicker. When I do the New Game Plus run, I'll be doing that on my own. I probably won't be recording it, but I do play through without summons, just here trying to show off the game and show off what it can do. Checking magic resistances to see if I can put something on for a little bit more magic resist in case I get hit by the attacks again. Might be able to survive long enough to heal. The other thing is the mid-roll actually makes it a little easier to dodge. The fast roll, sometimes you dodge too fast and you can't dodge again, so you'll take some damage. But the mid-roll gives you the iframes through both of those attacks. But as you can see, Beatrice is very strong when she actually hits her shots. And it takes a decent chunk of damage out of the Moonlight Butterfly. So she's a very, very good summons if you're having trouble or you just want to get through this boss fight a little bit quicker. Moonlight Butterfly finally lands so I can get my hits in. 2 hits in, and the Moonlight Butterfly is dead. This also unlocks a couple items up top. It's very good to get early on as well because some of the items will help you for specific builds, and it will also get you a key, the key to the watchtower where Havel is. If you want to start with something other than the master key, you can still get to Havel through here, and it gets you the Divine Ember, which allows you to put holy damage onto a weapon, and that way you can take out skeletons the first try. Anyway, that's all the time that I've got for today. We're gonna end by leveling up and hope to see you in the next video.